I do not like this painting, Charlie. Smug aura mocks me.
God, this has just been the worst game week. What a start. So now we're going to move on to game week 2. I'm going to provide a little bit more of discussion about these ones. Just wanted to cover game week 1, just to get out of the way, just to sort of listed that I'd done it, you know, just completionist sort of thing. So let's just start talking about these guys. And the first game of the game week we're going to talk about is Everton v West Brom, and bloody hell, what a game. I think it goes to show from the initial couple of goals that with Pickford still being in goal, Everton, you think their defensive assets just don't look that attractive right now. Like Dean, yeah, he's got some really good attacking value, and he should have definitely got a couple of assists and maybe even a goal during that game. But if you get any like Keane, Mina, Coleman, who have significantly much less attacking returns, you just think, nah, you can't trust Everton defence, especially that goalkeeper. So Everton looked really good though. Like the midfield looked really good. They got a bit lucky with Kieran Gibbs like shoving his hand into Rodriguez's face. It's just like what are you doing? Like, why would you? How long have you been in professional football to know not to do that with like thousands of cameras surrounding you in the stadium? Like what are you doing? What a way to completely throw it for your team, and he did. And like when the game was quite open, I think it was 2-1 at the time when Kieran Gibbs got sent off. So Everton still were on the front foot, but with Gibbs being sent off, and then it just completely opened up. Playing against 10 men with that sort of midfield and those passes just being threaded through, that one less person to stop that pass being threaded through by James Rodriguez, who looks like a really good asset at this moment in time, as long as he keeps fit. It just completely kills the game for West Brom, and it showed. And it was like a bit of brilliance from Herrera to get them to draw again, not 2-2. But it did not go very well from there, and it really did expose that West Brom at the back are absolutely terrible. So Leeds kicked us off again with another 4-3 thriller. God, I don't understand what's happening in the Premier League. I've never seen so many goals in like one game week before, and I think right now there's on 40 because Manchester City and Wolves are playing right now, and City are. Oh no, it's 41 because Aston Villa scored against Sheffield United. So I think it was like 2 more goals, and it's been like the most goals ever scored in a game week, and it's ridiculous. But it's just the amount of penalties. Like Cleach was on the penalties for Leeds. I think he's at 5.5. So he looks really good. He got an assist as well. So there's a lot of consideration between Cleach and Podence, who I'll cover on a bit later. But Cleach is like a surefire starter for Leeds, and he's on penalties. And with the amount of penalties that are going in FPL right now, he looks like such a premium asset for that price range. Anyway, moving on, like Leeds, again, just battered Fulham's defence. They were 4-1 up, and then it kind of exposed Leeds' defence as being terrible as well, because then Mitrovic just got them back into the game. I think he was made it 4-2, or definitely made it 4-3, and Leeds just held on. I think he made it 4-3 on the 69th minute, so he just held on. Leeds just held on for the rest of the game. But Fulham really looked like they were going to come in and exploit that. I think that's just the high attacking line that Leeds play. They're going to hit people on the breaks and on the counters. That's how they're going to get their goals. You saw that against Liverpool last week, and Fulham's defence clearly could not handle that, i.e. they put 4 goals past them. But Fulham and Leeds, both defensively, I definitely think you should be targeting. Leeds looking like a sort of Sheffield United from last season, who are just going to come in, do really well, play a different style of football than normally gets played by relegation sort of teams, or teams that have been promoted and they're going to look like they're going straight back down again, i.e. West Brom and Fulham. But though that sort of game plan that Bielsa's got for Leeds is going to really expose them at the back against attacking teams like Liverpool did, and actually battered them. But there was a couple of penalties. But I really think Leeds and Fulham are 2 teams you definitely need to target in terms of your players, or your attacking players, and they look like good captable fixtures for any players playing them. And then we move on to the enigma that is Manchester United. God, it was such a weird match. But when that first goal goes in for Manchester United, you just think like they're going to lose this match. I think that's just because of how negative this team was set up. Albeit Pogba had just come back from COVID. But why do you play Pogba when he's had COVID, when Donny van der Beek, who hasn't had COVID, is sitting on the bench and looking like such a better option. And they also had Scott McTominay, and he's just not a defensive midfielder. I don't know why he got played as defensive midfielder. I don't know, I can't remember if Matic had Corona or it's because he's got an injury or something like that. But Matic occupies that spot so well for Manchester United. They just don't have anybody else. Like, the attacking line looked terrible. Bruno Fernandes had to do most of the defending, so he didn't get any real chances to play. Crystal Palace, on the other hand, they look like a really good side to begin with. The defence looked solid. I don't know how much of that is just because of, Zaha occupying like all of Manchester United's time by just looking like he's going to get into the box and score every single time. But they look really good, and I really like Zaha at 7.1 million. If you look at their fixture list, I think I'll put it on the screen. It's like 2-2 or 2-3, 2-3, 2-2-2, and like it's a fantastic fixture list. And Zaha, who's firing on all cylinders right now, you want to get that guy in for 7 million. Weird match. Crystal Palace look good. Man United. Wait till they get their full team back. When they start playing the team with last season, that's when I'm going to start considering their assets. Moving on to Arsenal v West Ham, which was the final game of the day. Arsenal, they were fully in control at the first, half, I think. And they were 1-0 up, and then they just started to Arsenal it up again. And they've got new players, new defensives at the back, but I think because Tierney went out and Kolasinac came in, they started looking like a bit more shaky. I think, it just goes to show you how much morale counts in football. It's like, if you know that you've got Tierney who's looking like he's on really good form, and then he goes out injured, and then Kolasinac comes in who had a clearly poor end of the season, just even thinking that Kolasinac is there, it might make you a bit less confident. It showed, because Arsenal really didn't look good after Tierney went off, and I don't think that's just a credit to Tierney's ability. I think it's actually because they miss one piece of the puzzle, they start getting a bit shaky, they start thinking differently. Holding on to Aubameyang looks like not very good decision right now, because Aubameyang doesn't really score in big fixtures. Well, he didn't last season. Whether that's just because of the team he was playing with or just his general adversity to scoring in big games, no one will ever know. Aubameyang, I think he's too expensive for what he is. West Ham, on the other hand, oh god, they really tried to get back into the game. Rice looking like his head's being turned by Chelsea, because there's loads of reports about an offer being submitted for him. Or it's just because West Ham, they just don't look like a very good attacking team. I mean, Antonio did get a couple of shots off, and he was really close to a couple, so he looks like a good asset at 6.5. But, you don't want people to hit the bar, you need them to finish off the chances. And so right now, I think this is much more better assets at 6.5, or you can use that money a lot better in other areas than Antonio, because West Ham are going to be patchy, that's for certain. And then we've got one of my most hated games of the day. I think every time I got a notification that Spurs had scored, I just absolutely hit myself. I had Son last week against Everton. I just, I hate not having Son in my FPL team, and you look at what Son's done, and then you at the first game, he missed a couple of chances to give it away. You think maybe his confidence is not up. If he does start next week, he might get a goal. I won't feel that bad. And then he goes out and plays against some Bulgarian little workers, and you just think, oh god, they barely won against a 9-man team in Bulgaria, and you think against Southampton it's going to be an easy win for Southampton. But then Son decides to turn into a copy-paste machine along with Harry Kane. They played the same ball 4 times against Southampton, and it worked every single time. You just think, what the hell is Hasenhüttl doing? You see the first goal going, okay, fine, maybe you keep it, maybe it's just like a fluke and you tell your players and you just switch your heads on. But then the second time it happens, you think, right, I'm going to need to change tactics here. That's clearly working against me. And then when the third goal goes in, it's just, on that point, and then the fourth, it's just an absolute bizarre tactics that was. So that really pissed me off, transferring Son out for a -4 for James. God, was that one of the most frustrating games I think I've watched in a long time. Southampton, Ings, obviously, Ings is just Ings. He's just going to be so consistent. He was one of my favourite players from last season. He just got goal after goal after goal. Every single match, 3 bonus points, 2 bonus points, 3 bonus points. You say, this guy's an absolute magnet. Danny Ings looks like such a certain buy. I really wouldn't discourage anybody from looking at Danny Ings in the future, especially if you're on a wild card, because as bad as Southampton looked, Danny Ings still looks pretty good. Okay, that was a bit of a long one because of how frustrating I found the game. We got Brighton v Newcastle. Brighton looks so good. I don't know what Potter's done. I don't know if it's just because of the new signings. They just look so much more like a fresh team, if you know what I mean. Like last season, they were a bit stale. Now they're starting to look quite good. Against Chelsea, they look great. Against Newcastle, I mean, Newcastle were dire. But yeah, the Brighton, I think, is one team you've got to look out for. And Trossard again on the score, I think 6.0. Again, this is what happened last time in last season. Got a couple of goals, a couple of assists, and then he just kind of dropped off. So again, just need more information on Brighton before we know what to do with them. Newcastle, their assets, Callum Wilson, you know, against, I think they've got Tottenham next, and you know, Wilson's just going to be there. He's such a good asset at 6.5, like such good value, but whether Newcastle is just going to keep doing these patchy sort of win streaks that they had last season, or if they're just going to keep popping up, getting points here and there, you just no idea. So yeah, maybe just hold off on Newcastle for now. And I know that a lot of people have St. Maximin. He didn't look good and he's off with an injury already. So yeah, looking like you're going to need to get rid of him. And there's lots of other better 5.5 minutes out there. So it's not going to be hard to transfer him out. And then we come to Chelsea v Liverpool. This game was like one of the most disappointing games I've seen in a while. Not in terms of quality, because in the first half, it looked like it was going to be such a good game. You thought, wow, Chelsea are actually going to challenge Liverpool here. We're actually going to see Kai in his natural position, playing like he did at Leverkusen, hopefully. And then Timo Werner getting on the end of maybe some of his crosses. And then Christensen like goes and gets that red card. Again, it's Kepa. Everyone says it's Kepa. And yes, I know it is Kepa, because if you're a defender and you're playing with Kepa, you think, I'm not letting Kepa get anywhere near that ball. It ruins the game, because then Kai gets brought off. The attacking aspect for Chelsea sort of gets so much less. And then Kepa does that, like with Mane, like what was that? Oh God, Kepa is so bad. They're not going to sell him, but they're getting Mendy soon. So once they do get him in, that's when I'm going to consider like looking at their defence. And then we have another high-scoring game between Leicester and Burnley, and oh my God, like this game week was just Jamie Vardy, who's my 10 million forward, having less touches and less goals than Justin, a Leicester defender. Vardy's probably going straight out of my team. Burnley look a bit shaky at the back as well. I thought Burnley were going to be that team that just hold Leicester to maybe a 1-0 loss, maybe even a 1-1 draw. Didn't think they'd put, you know, 4 past them, and especially with like Pope and goal and having Tarkowski. I think he got subbed out for Dunn. He's a 4.0 defender, so we need to see what the injury is like to consider maybe bringing him on a wild card. So starting 4.0 is, for a Burnley defence as well, looks like a really good asset, so that's still yet to be decided. And then we move on to Aston Villa versus Sheffield United. God, Sheffield United, who are just looking so poor right now. What a goalkeeper Emi Martinez is. Like 4.5 million as well. Like, oh, McCarthy is going straight out of many teams once the wild card gets played for many people. And with the Sheffield United defence, like, I'd stay away. Sheffield United are just a complete avoid at this moment in time. Once they try and figure out why they're going wrong, and like, you don't really want to put your money on a team with that sort of form right now. And then we move on to the final game of the game week, which is Wolves v Man City, currently being played right now. So I don't really have much to talk about apart from the De Bruyne is 11.5, had the most assists last season, can score outrageous goals, and is on penalties. And then you've got Sterling, who can just go off and get like 3 or 4 goals here and there, and it's just like, that choice is going to be so hard. I think the Aubameyang to De Bruyne or Sterling pick is going to be really difficult. It's clearly going to be majority De Bruyne just because of penalties. And looking at Wolves, God, Wolves look so good. Their fixture list as well looks really good. Just their assets, you don't really know what's going to happen. Like Podence right now, everyone's looking at Podence and thinking this is my 5.5 million midfielder, which like literally everyone can fit into their squad. But comparing him to like Garner, he's such an explosive asset that he is going to get loads of goals this season. Well, not loads, but you know, probably a lot more than Podence is going to get. The assists on Podence might add up, but I think it's just going to be level with Garner and Podence. And Podence looks like more the rotation risk. If I was anybody, I'd probably go with Garner over Podence, but again, just my pick.